Welcome to the 433rd episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome and thanks for listening. Today, I have a special guest from the UK. His name is Paul Yude, and I saw an article about him in Runner's World. He is trying to set a record for press-ups. Here in the United States, we call them push-ups. He would like to get 1 million before he's 90. And ultra marathons, he would like to get 100 before he's 100. And so I dug a little deeper and found out that he was also vegan. And it basically become vegan because he had read something about factory farming, and he didn't realize that animals were treated so poorly to, get meat for society. I did not realize in the UK things were as bad as in the US, but it seems to be every bit as bad. So he went vegan in about age 65, and he noticed by accident when he was chasing his grandson that his knees no longer hurt him. He had quit running and had biked because his knees were hurting, and then after he became vegan, his knees didn't hurt, so he started running again. But he didn't take up ultra marathon running until the pandemic. So I'll let him share his story with us. It's quite unique, and I'm going to attempt to put some video up, which I don't usually do. But I think it's worth seeing this young gentleman because he's in really top physical fit shape. So I think he's worth a look, worth a view. So I'll see what I can do on that aspect of things. But you know, it always amazes me. He made a statement during our interview that, he states when he's doing hard things, he feels most alive, and he loves a challenge. And, I can't help but wonder, why do some people choose hard things and some people avoid them like the plague and kind of want comfort foods and the easy way out? And I guess if we knew that, we could probably help a lot more people. But I think for now, I think as many people you can listen to with a positive mental attitude and a can-do attitude and a lover of life attitude that you can listen to, I think that's probably a worthwhile way to get started. I also love that at 85, he's looking forward to things. He has no boundaries. He's not looking at his life like, the best is behind him. He looks towards every day as a new adventure. And I think we could all benefit by looking to tomorrow as a new adventure and embracing the gifts that today has for us. He also embraces change. At a later age, he could have said, what the heck? But he became a vegan. He started running, started doing things. So message for today is you're never too old to try new things. It's not over till it's over. Keep pushing forward. And, the easy button is not what's going to get you where you're going. It's that hard button that really brings you alive. So without further ado, here is Paul Yude. Yes.
I don't know if they've got these in the States, but in the ultra community that I've joined, it's called Action. It's run by a firm called Action Challenge, and people join it. They're called Trek Masters, experienced ultramarathoners, purely to find people who are struggling and accompany them and get them over the line, whatever their personal challenge is. So they're just volunteers. They just love it. So the whole thing is communal. Yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, we'll officially get you introduced, but welcome, Paul Yude, to the podcast. I ran across your initial story in Runner's World, where it said 85-year-old gentleman on track to do 1 million press-ups and 100 ultras before he is 100. And currently, I believe you're 85 years old?
I am, yeah.
And you became vegan in your 60s?
Yeah, 65 roughly, yeah.
65.
I started by wanting to avoid mad cow disease, BSE.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I can give up meat, no problem. So I gave up meat, and then I started looking at the dairy industry and the egg industry and the chick, and I didn't like what I saw. I'd taken no interest in it before that. I was a big meat eater, But somebody triggered me off, and I looked at it and I thought, well, first of all, I gave up cow's cheese, then I gave up goat's cheese, and eventually I was eating sheep's cheese. And then I gave it all up when I found out what happens to sheep. And I became vegan. And then immediately, you see my fingers?
Uh-huh.
See, they're gnarled and twisted. They were getting worse and worse every year. It was painful to hold a kettle, to change gear, to shake hands. Everything was painful. I went vegan, and all the pain disappeared. It was remarkable. And I went vegan for the animals, and my health improved. Win-win. Yeah.
Very, very, very good. So do you think the factory farming in the UK is similar to the US? I mean, it's very rampant here. Is it that I didn't really think it was that bad in the UK, is it?
Yeah, oh, it is. Yeah, yeah. I think 90% of all the animal products produced are factory farmed. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I you kind of get that feeling of the English countryside, and cattle grazing there wouldn't be as bad as our feedlots in the Midwest. But I guess to feed the population, it's to feed the fast food industry, you got to have it everywhere, I guess.
Well, indeed, yeah, yeah. It's iniquitous. It really is terrible.
So you were a cyclist in your 60s, not much of a runner because your knees hurt.
That's right. I tried to run in my 40s, and my knees were so painful I gave up after 6 weeks. And when I went vegan and all the pain disappeared, I didn't connect it. I didn't think about running until I was running around, chasing my 5-year-old, 6-year-old grandson around the dining room table. And I thought, hang on a minute, my knees aren't hurting. So when lockdown came along, I did a 20-yard trek in my back garden and ran around that for 6 months, and found I really loved it. It was something I could do. And the fact that I was pretty fit when I started, because I was doing I got this challenge to do 1 million press ups between 80 and 90. That I was pretty fit anyway, and I just dropped into it, and I found I loved it.
Now, you were in the Royal Air Force, and then you were a bread maker. Tell me about the bread making career.
Well, I took early retirement, and when I was 55, and I wanted to teach my hobby of bread making, so I did a City and Guilds course to teach adults. Did stage 1, stage 2, then I did the certificate of education. And then my tutor said, well, you may as well go and get a degree now. You've got the Cert Ed. So I finished up with a 2-1 in education and training. To go with the 2 O-levels, I left school with. The 2 qualifications I left school with. My second go at education was just a complete joy. It really was, yeah. Yeah.
And so you taught bread making. Did you have a bakery, or it was?
Well, I used to go to different schools and teach. I had a 15-year contract with a local primary school, where it was under the aegis of family learning. They wanted families to come in and learn something, and they found bread making was a good tool to do that. So we'd sit around a table with 4 or 5 families, and over 6 weeks we'd make a dozen different breads. And while they were sitting there, they'd look around the school. Oh, this school isn't so frightening after all. And then they started joining in with the life of the school, listening to kids read and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Very nice.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Are you still making bread?
I do. I've got my, I'm just, I don't know if you can see this. This is some bread dough that I keep in the fridge until I want to make bread again. And then I join that with some new flour and that. And then I'll make a loaf and put the rest of it back in the fridge again, keep that until I want to make bread again. So yeah, I keep it going all the time.
Your starter, so to speak.
Indeed, yeah, it's sort of sourdough, yeah.
Part of the starter. Okay, cool. Do you fuel yourself during your runs with some of your homemade bread?
Not really, no. I tend to, when I'm doing my ulcers, I tend to take some stuff like boiled baby potatoes, salted baby potatoes, dates with marzipan, stuff with marzipan. And I have a couple of, I make my own seitan. Take long strips of that. We get fed on the ulcers, but sometimes the food is a bit uninspiring, and if you can spice it up with a bit of homemade seitan, That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good idea for taking along. So you get something savory. So am I right? So your longest ultra to date is at 100K, or you did a 250?
I did 100K, 106K around the Isle of Wight 3 weeks ago. We went right around the circumference of the island. It took 2 days, over 2 days, 53K each day. And that was it. I loved it. I just loved it. I can't wait for my next one, which is in August.
And what is that one?
That's 50K. It's a loop from Minehead, which is a seaside town near Taunton.
Mm-hmm.
And we go along the coast and then up over a fairly big hill, back down the hill, back down to Minehead again. It's a 50K loop. And it's just great fun.
Do you bring a crew? Does your wife come along? Or are you doing?
No. I have done it with my son, but this one I'm going to do with a friend I met on my first ultra, another vegan woman that we met. We met up on the first run, and she's going to accompany. And last time I did it last August with a filmmaker who filmed me all the way around.
Wow.
And he's featuring me in a forthcoming film that's coming out called "I Could Never Go Vegan."
Ah.
And that should be coming out. Well, when I asked him last time, he said shortly. So he's negotiating with Amazon Prime and Netflix to see the best deal, and that it's going to be released. Keep an eye out for it. I Could Never Go Vegan. There's doctors on there. There's people you might. There's in England. There's an organisation called Plant-Based Health Professionals.
Mm-hmm.
A bit like the PCRM in the States, run by Neil Barnard. And there's the leader of that, Dr. Shireen Kassam. She's in it as well. There's bodybuilders and there's nutritionists and all sorts of different people giving you the reasons why you can go vegan.
Have you seen the documentary? Which features more athletes. What is that called? Game Changers.
Game Changers. Yeah, I saw that a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's brilliant.
So it's more along the line of that: healthy people eating plant-based and thriving,
and finding their performance is enhanced. Indeed, it is. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And so when you went vegan, arthritis went away. Were you on any medications beforehand?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, so you're a pretty healthy guy.
Yeah, I'm not on any medications now. Unlike all my all my friends, they're all on something. They've all got AF, or they've got high blood pressure, or diabetes, or cancer. And I've persuaded 2 of them to go vegan, but the rest are still works in progress. I'm working on them.
Do you find the ultra marathon community in the UK, you have vegan options, or is it still mainly junk food? There is.
There is, yeah. But you have to ask for it. They keep it hidden under the table, because otherwise all the omnis would eat it up, wouldn't they? So you have to ask for it. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
This race that I kind of watched this weekend, the race directors actually were vegan. So that's kind of a new thing. And that was in Georgia, which Georgia's southern U.S., very, poor health, a lot of, processed, greasy food. So to have a vegan ultra in that area was, very nice. It wasn't completely ultra, but they had a lot of vegan options because they were vegan. There's an ultra out in California that is a completely vegan ultra. It's called in Mendocino 50K. So if you ever get the to go out, but so all the food is plant-based. So that's really cool.
Love to do an ultra in the States. I really would, but I'd be spoiled for choice. You've got so many over there, haven't you?
Yeah, it is a lot. You know what I mean? And again, just being new to the scene, you don't realize how many there are. Everybody hears of the popular ones, but there are, a lot of local trail runners. And I think just like you and I, that, once you get into that community, it's so welcoming. You kind of forget about the road marathons. You know, it's so much nicer.
Yeah, there's a guy called Harvey Lewis.
Yes, yes, I've had him on the podcast.
Ah, right. He's a brilliant. He's all for it, isn't he? He's tremendous, and he combines it all with a full-time teaching job. How does he do it?
He's either running or teaching. It seems like, you know, running or teaching.
Indeed, yeah, yeah.
So did you start out doing some marathons and then went to ultra? Or you just went straight to ultra?
I went straight to ultra. When I started in lockdown on the 28th of March, running around my back garden, gradually building it up. And after about 3 months, I thought I felt fit enough to do 100K, 10K every day for 10 days to fundraise for a sanctuary, an animal sanctuary. A friend of mine was volunteering at. And I started on the 20th of June, which is less than 3 months later, and did the 10K every day. And I thought I would get more tired as the week went on, but I got stronger and finished up doing 110K in the 10 days. And then I went online on Facebook. There's a page called Athletic Vegans. I said, well, how can I maintain this level of fitness? And somebody suggested looking at ultramarathons. And I saw the one from Minehead right over the peninsula to Dawlish, and I saw it online, and I was hooked immediately. I thought, I want to do that. Yeah, so that was straight in. Yeah.
So did any of your family say, you know, hey, you're pushing this a little too much, or you're crazy, or?
No, not really. No, they're all very supportive. Yeah,
they're good. Good.
I think I'm a bit odd, but they've grown used to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think. What do you think the difference is? Like, why, you know, have you ever thought about why ultra? Why do you feel like you got to go so long? You think it's all about pushing your level of fitness, or what do you think that is?
I follow David Goggins. I'm inspired by him. And he says, you know, you need to be uncomfortable. If you're always in your comfort zone, you'll never know what you're capable of. So I'll step outside my comfort zone. And now, lo and behold, ultra marathons are now in my comfort zone.
You're in your comfort zone. So I got to know, how did you come to find David Goggins in your research?
I think, well, I was following Rich Roll, Rich Roll podcast, and he popped up on one of his podcasts. I find Rich Roll is very inspiring. He gets some of the most amazing people on his podcasts. And first of all, there was this guy, an Indian director, Sanjay something or other, and he did this film at 3,100 miles, running to become. There's this marathon, ultra marathon in New York, where they run around a block in is it Queens?
Yes.
And they run out that for the whole summer. And this is in the film, and there's also these Japanese monks and the Tarahara Indians and all in the film. And then the David Goggins interview came on, and I was inspired by him. And I love the David Goggins story. It's a fabulous
story. It's funny though, you know, I mean, some people, I guess it's a certain mindset that, you know, likes that being pushed into the uncomfortable zone. I think it's one thing that I think that, I guess, there's a lot of push for being comfortable these days. You know, let's get comfort foods. Let's stay in a comfortable environment. Let's, you know, we in America drive everywhere. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to this. And then you have this community that is, you know, you're tougher than you think it is. I'll have to link you up with the Leadville race series, the podcast. It's about Leadville, but the story of Leadville Ultra Marathon is basically it was a mining town that was going defunct. It's Grit, Guts, and Determination is the podcast.
Red Dust and Determination.
Grit, Guts, and Determination. And the founder of that 100-mile Leadville race that's at 12,000 feet was a guy named Ken Clover that basically they were trying to save the town. And if you bring in, they thought, well, if we bring in we do something that people have to spend the night, then they'll come into town and they'll stay in a hotel and they'll spend some money. And so they saved the town by starting this 100-mile race through the Leadville, Colorado, which is one of the highest points in the United States. And so he's all about, you've got more than you think you have, dig deep, it's all about what you're saying, it goes along that line. But he, took up running at a late age. He had a gun. He had actually been shot in a hunting accident in the knee early on in his life, in his teenage years. And, he was just one of these guys that it never let it affect him, and end up running these 100-mile races and 100-mile bike rides. And so they feature a lot of people that, do these things and are inspired by getting out of your comfort zone. And to me, that's where life begins, is getting out of your comfort zone. I think people, they love life more when they push themselves outside of their comfort zone.
I have to tell you, Jamie, when I was going, the very first ultra I did, we were climbing this peak in Somerset, the highest point in Somerset, called Dunkery Beacon. And it was pouring down with rain. It was sheeting down. The wind was whistling across. I had a poncho on. I was trying to hold the poncho and I pull it down at the back, and I was climbing up this stony track. And I remember saying to somebody, you know what? There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Because you felt so alive. You were living life to the absolute full. And I thought, this is for me. So I've been hooked ever since.
Very good. I have to agree with you totally. And from what I saw in the article in the Irish Times, you eat a healthy, I would call you a plant-based diet more so than a junk food vegan.
Yeah, I do have my junk food. I've got this chocolate covered here. But before an ultra, I'll eat really clean. And I try and follow Dr. Gregor's Daily Dozen.
Uh-huh.
I love nutritionfacts.org. I got a close eye on that. And I eat all the good stuff, the turmeric and the flax seeds and kale and spinach and broccoli and all that.
Very good. So what's your favorite dinner that you would eat? What would be a go-to dinner for you?
Well, actually, it's very simple. Just some red lentils with some new potato, a mixture of white and red potatoes, sweet potatoes, and made up into a bit of a hash. With some wholemeal bread. That to me is comfort food, and I love red lentils. I call red lentils a vegan's fast food because they're ready in 10 minutes.
Yes.
You throw some flavoring in it, and you've got a meal there.
Very good.
That's my favorite, I guess. Yeah.
And so, what's your daily mileage look like now?
Recently, it's been about 45K a week.
Wow.
Well, it's 3 weeks since I did the ultra, and I took a week off. I was pretty smashed. I was pretty banged up for the first 3 or 4 days. I didn't do anything. But I'm gradually built up. I'm doing about 45K a week at the moment. And I'll build that up to 60, 70 before the next ultra. I think I'm not much into doing really long walks before an ultra. I'll just spend a lot of time on my feet daily. Every day I'll go out and I'll do 8, 10, 12K, and that'll do me. Yeah.
Very good.
But I'm walking at the moment because 17 months ago, I broke my leg playing tag with my grandson, the famous grandson who ran around the table with me. And I went down and my leg was broken. But I was walking, after 6 weeks, I was walking 3K a day because the bone heals very quickly, but the ligaments take about 18 months, I'm told.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to start running in about a month's time with a bit of luck. I'll take it very gently and cautiously, but I want to get back into running because it's a really great feeling when you're out there and you're running. You're about 6 or 7K into it, and you think, "Gosh, I think I could run forever." You just get that feeling, don't you?
I think there's something with both feet in the air, even if it's only for a few milliseconds. It's so much better than walking, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, it's a link with you with the ancestors 10,000 years ago. That's all we did, walk and run, wasn't it? No other way of getting around, and it's a link back doing what they did, except we're doing it on in trainers.
Yeah. Have you, you would probably find some interest in, there's a podcast called The History of Ultra Running by Davy Crockett.
All right, yeah.
So he goes back through looking, at the foot races back into the 1800s and some of the, really old races. And there's actually he mentioned, I didn't know, I can't recall his name currently. There's also an historian in the UK that runs, a universal database on people that have done, what the history of ultra running. But it's quite interesting because, when I first started, of course, I heard the book Born to Run. I'm sure you've heard, with the Tara Maris, and, we have Western states here and certain things. And, but it goes back way into the 1800s, of doing these ultra events. That people were, they actually used to gamble on them. They in Madison Square Garden in New York, they used to, walk around a track and people would come and bet on people, and they walk for hundreds of miles,
Wow.
on these day-long events. So it's kind of funny that, it's evolved. Of course, it's more of a trail thing now as opposed to road ultras, but yeah, there's a big history of it. And I think, again, it just comes back. You feel more alive when you're out pushing the limits.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that's right. Yeah.
So your cronies, you must have some cronies that are just sedentary. You go out and you say, well, I got to go for a run. I mean, I mean, your people, I would guess are, if you say you're running people, they must be much younger than you for the most part.
Yeah, they are. And they're also, we meet up with my friends, my contemporaries. We meet up for discussion groups every now and again. We have a bridge group on Zoom every Wednesday evening. And but they are sedentary. Apart from one guy who's a cyclist, he'll cycle anywhere. But most of them are just. And these are guys with the AF and the high blood pressure and the diabetes and that. It's difficult. I do a lot of outreach. I go and show people TV screens what's happening in the animal industry to try and educate them, say, do we need to do this? And I find strangers are a lot easier to convince to talk to than your friends and family. Much easier, yeah.
Do you think there's, I mean, do you think there's a pushback like, well, if I give up meat at 80 and it doesn't work, then look what I've missed?
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, possibly. It's the old story, isn't it? Conventional wisdoms, received wisdom. They're the hardest to break. I mean, Kim. What's his name? Your ex-president of the.
Kim Williams.
Kim Williams. Yeah, he said. I love that quote of his where he said there's two types of cardiologists: vegans and those who haven't read the science. There must be a lot of pushback in the because he wants to get rid of his practice, doesn't he? He wants nobody to. He doesn't feel the need for cardiologists.
Well, basically, that's what's happened to me. I was a conventional cardiologist, and it was, treating people's cholesterol and diabetes and blood pressure with medication, doing heart catheterizations and stress tests and all that. And now that I went plant-based, it's like, well, there's really. I mean, that's a way about it to kind of patch you up, but it's not a cure, and there's no real need to do it. And of all the diseases, I feel most confident that cardiovascular disease can be treated with nutrition alone. And I don't think people have to die of cardiovascular disease. But it's a matter of getting people to believe it. And a lot of my contemporaries would like to, and my cardiology colleagues, basically, it puts them out of business. And, and they'll tell people, go ahead and eat what you want. I'll just put another stent in. So they believe in the stent theory of life, and they want to eat what they want to eat. So it's do what you want to do. And we'll try to fix you up as you go. And so it's so I go to the hospital probably 4 or 5 times a year. And it's usually if somebody fell and broke something, or, they have some infection or something. It's not cardiovascular. And, so when I walk into the hospital, I'm a stranger anymore. I haven't done a procedure in 4 or 5 years because I don't need to.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it's very rewarding to actually get people to come here and say, we can fix this, just by your nutrition. It's very disappointing when, people, despite being sick, can't see the nutrition link. And I think sometimes they're afraid that it will work. You know what I mean? Because if it works, then I got to keep doing this.
Yeah. There's that resistance. I mean, you guys, you're going to medicine because you want to heal people. You want people to get better as a result of your efforts.
Right. You want to win. A win is healing.
Yeah. So if you can heal them, yeah, great. But if you have to, I mean, there's that great cartoon where this guy said, "Oh, you've got two choices. You can either have your chest split open and we do this and you do that, or you can go vegan." Oh, go vegan. That's a bit extreme, Doc.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's just so hard for people to believe. Of course, there's so much pushback.
What was your push that got you into plant-based?
I was getting ready to go and perform a heart catheterization one day, and one of the techs was eating this giant bowl of salad. And I asked her, wow, that's a big salad for such a little woman. And she says, I'm a vegan. And it's like, what's a vegan? I was from, West Virginia, which is not, a meat eating kind of state. And so she said, go read the book, A Diet for a New America by John Robbins. Mm-hmm. And when I read that book, I had no idea about, like you, the factory farming, the cruelty to chickens, eggs, the dairy industry, and of course the health reasons as far as, how bad things were and how you could reverse disease. So I just, after I read the book, I said, I'm vegan. That was just it. I'm vegan. And my family wasn't that easy to convince. It's like, I don't know about that, but it took some time to get everybody on board. But I just started doing a deep dive into everything that I could read. And, the first people were, Caldwell Esselstyn, he's, I don't, anybody, you can't.
Paper tiger. It should not exist.
Exactly. You can't call him a quack, right? I mean, the guy is, a decorated veteran. He was an Olympic athlete. He was, the director of surgery at one of the most prestigious hospitals in the United States. And all of a sudden he said, this is not the way to go. And then the other person that influenced me again in the same was Colin Campbell, with at Dartmouth, again, a well-educated man that said, wait a minute, this is not the right way to do things, and changed.
Yeah.
And John McDougall, he walked the walk, had a practice. So I was looking for people that actually walked the walk and were practicing physicians that were actually pulling this off, because there's a lot of people that talk the talk, but when it comes to implementing it in their practice, they don't do it.
Right. Yeah.
And, for fear, and it's mainly fear-based. Here in the US, medicine is cover your backside type philosophy. Treat everything you can with medications, protocols. And so a lot of people are afraid to deviate from the general consensus.
But hasn't, what's his name, Dean Ornish, hasn't he got an agreement with the insurance companies that they will pay for his lifestyle?
Yes, he now has an agreement with Medicare that they pay for his programs.
Yeah.
And they have been implemented in a lot of hospitals, but it's very funny because when it actually comes down to implementing them, most people water it down so much that, so they don't want to offend anybody. So it's a good introduction to plant-based medicine. And most of the people implementing it aren't plant-based. So it's a way to get a nutrition program paid for in the United States, but there's not enough support to really keep it going. It's getting better. I mean, there are more and more people that you run into that have, I think that Rip Esselstyn in the United States, and the Esselstyns have really, and the McDougals have really spread the word of health and how it can be, how people can change their lives through nutrition. But it's, still, a very, very small part of healthcare here in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an uphill struggle, it must be.
Yeah, it is. But I was so excited, as I'm 60 years old. And when I look at ultra results, I don't know if you do, but I kind of scroll to the last page to see how old the oldest finisher was.
No,
You don't do that?
no. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the ones that we do. I don't think they put the age on there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I always look to see, who the oldest finisher is, because I so desperately want people to keep going. And I think that people running ultras will be able to go like you are if they are plant-based. But I think at some point, if they're eating the standard diet that's, full of fat and animal products, I think that the inflammation is going to catch up with them eventually.
Indeed, yeah. There's a guy called one of Harvey Lewis's friends, Mike Fremont.
Yes.
101-year-old. He inspires me. I mean, for goodness sake.
Yes, he just said, I got colon cancer, we're going to do it this way. And he's fabulous. And I regret not, I'm going to, if you'll send me a link to a photo of you, or I'll find one, but you don't look a day over 65.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, you don't look 60 for sure.
Well, people don't have hair at 20, so don't worry. And you still have some up there, so don't worry about that.
Still got a bit, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that it's a message that I'd like to get out, is that, this ultra community is fabulous. You're really too young, or you're too old not to run, perhaps, that everybody should try.
Well, we got this new program coming up. I don't know if there was a little mention of it in the article, I think, about the running on plants.
Yes.
Which is a program which is set up to do do a 5K at the beginning of June, adopt a plant-based diet, follow all the tips and recipes and advice that you can get online with running on plants, and then do a 5K at the end of the month and see what the difference in time is.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's and the guy who runs it is the guy who filmed me going around that last ultra. Last August, and he asked me, he said, will you be an ambassador for us? So, and I'm an ambassador for running on plants.
Nice.
Yeah.
I looked at the website. I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
And I think the more we get that out, the better. Again, the running community sometimes, I believe, thinks that you're running, you can eat anything you want, and most people are thin because they're running. But in the reality of it is, you're still rusting on the inside a little bit.
Well, you look at something like a Garmin watch or something. So you've done 12 miles, which entitles you to 1,800 calories or something. So I'm sure people say, right, that's how many packets of chocolate biscuits is that?
Yes. But again, you're very inspiring, and I'm going to be following you. So you're going to have to, do those 100. So how many are you planning to do a year? Is there?
If I do 3 real ones, like getting out on the trail, 3 virtual ones a year, that'll take me to 100 by my 100th birthday. Yeah, I've done 9 so far. I'm in the middle of one now with a firm called the Conqueror. It's some sort of South American challenge. I've got to do 180K in 30 days or something like that. Something really doable, but it keeps me. If I ever think, I don't need to go out for a walk today, but no, I've got to, because I've got this challenge, so I need to get out there. And one thing I did find when I was running, I found this 80-20 running. Have you come across that? Where you do 80% of your running slowly.
Yes.
And 20% of it only you do fast. You do interval training and all that sort of thing. But 80% of your running is just for enjoyment. It's just getting out there, looking around, seeing the birds, looking at, chatting, saying hello to people. And So I'm hoping to get back to that shortly.
Very, very good. Well, I think I have no doubts that you're going to accomplish it. And if you ever come to the U.S. and do an ultra, make sure I know about it.
Okay, okay, Jamie. Well, it's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much for your time.
That's okay. I'll look out for the podcast. It'll be coming out soon, will it?
It will.
Or
I'll send you a link to the podcast.
yeah, okay, that's lovely. Well,
All
it's
right.
been
Thanks
lovely.
for listening. All right. Bye.
Bye then, Jamie. Bye.
Bye. Well, what'd you think? Pretty cool fellow. I think I wouldn't. Sure you'll agree with me for that. It was a great interview. Thanks again, Paul. I will make links to running on plants. And as most of you know, in our practice, we take people to push their running career or get them off the couch and start running as well. Most of the time, people are already plant-based, and then we just get them running. But sometimes it's in the opposite direction. But I agree with Paul that you're too old not to run. So at any age, you can start running. When he referred to 80-20 running, there was actually a book by, I believe the gentleman's name was Fitzgerald, that actually trained with the Kenyans and elite runners. And most elite runners actually run most of their runs at a slow conversational pace. And then 20%, they kind of let it go, and that's when they do their speed work and their high output type workouts. But most recreational runners kind of get stuck in that gray zone, so they never go too fast, and they never go slow enough, so they don't build up their cardiovascular fitness. And when it comes to building up your mitochondria and your cardiovascular fitness, easy does it is the way to go. So it's good to get out there and be conversational. Run, walk, run a little bit, walk a little bit, run slow. But as a cardiologist, I advocate running to heart rate. I think that's a good way to make sure you're staying in the right zones. But if you'd like any help like that, you can go over onto our website at drdulaney.com and check things out. Email me at jamie@drdulaney.com for more information. We'd love to help you as well with your nutrition as well as your running program. I am back from the hills of Georgia. We were up at Vogel State Park running the trails up there, trying to get ready for the Leadville Silver Rush 50-mile trail run in July. Had a great time, a lot of elevations. Joined by a new running friend and member of the practice, Sandy Geisel, showed us the ropes up there. And while we were there, they were actually doing a race called the Cruel Jewel 100. So we actually got to see people running a 100-mile race as well as a 50-mile race. And of course, we went off the trail and went to dinner and went to bed and got up, and they were still going. So it was amazing. The terrain was quite difficult, switchbacks up and down, never a flat spot. So hats off to all the finishers of the Cruel Jewel 100 race. Definitely think that's going to have to be on a bucket list. But for now, headed to the Silver Rush 50-mile race in July and continuing the training there. Treadmill elevations is what we have from here on out, and pulling that old tire. So things are going pretty good. Ankles back in action, and so we're narrowing down. The other cool thing about the Cruel Jewel 100 Ultra Marathon is I was told that the race directors are actually vegan, and they had vegan options at the aid table. So that was very exciting for me to hear, that more and more runners are adopting a vegan lifestyle. And of course, when I heard Paul was an 85-year-old ultra runner and a vegan, that really resonated with me and was very cool. So I'm going to continue to find ultra marathoners and that are vegan and try to get this message out to both communities. And as always, I'd like to thank you for listening and hope you tune in more and share it with your friends that are runners. Maybe they'll become plant-based. Share it with your plant-based friends. Maybe they'll become runners. Thanks for listening.